Hello, my dog loving friends. Welcome to part 4 of Address or Suppress series. Remember, beneath every behavior, there is a feeling. And beneath every feeling, there is a need. And when we meet that need, rather than focus on the behavior, we begin to deal with the cause, not the symptom. What is today's topic? Today's topic, that feeling, I want to talk about anxiety or fearful behaviors. Because oftentimes, how the dog feels, like that need, what they need, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling worried, they're feeling scared. What they need is safety. They need to feel heard. They need to feel safe. They need to understand that sometimes their feeling is irrational. And they need a partner who understands that, because I've worked with many clients with dogs who are fearful, whether it is a lack of socialization, whether it's a traumatic event, whether it's just the epigenetics that the dog was born with. When there is that fear and anxiety, so often I hear owners, guardians say to me, well, they shouldn't feel like that. Like, they need to trust that I've got their back. They just need to trust me. And they're kind of not happy when I say, well, but you have shown yourself to not be trustworthy. Well, right? They get really offended. And I get that. I understand that feeling, because this dog right here, this is Jasper, and he's gone now, he's died, but Jasper taught me so much. A good portion of what I teach you guys is Jasper's legacy. He was a difficult dog. He was overly reactive on leash, and for a variety of reasons, which we will not get into today. But that my realization moment, where kind of like we hit rock bottom, it was so hard for me to realize that I had failed him in helping him feel safe, and he felt like he had to display these behaviors on leash because I wasn't reading the situation correctly. And at the end of his life, we were like this, right? Like, we were so tight. I could read him and he could read me. And when we went for walks, he always chose to walk with me. He just trusted me. So that comes when I first admit that there is a need, that he doesn't feel safe, that he has this feeling, this need, and I need to step up and become the person that does have his back, that does keep him safe. And one of the things that I did for him to build that bond is I instituted a zero greeting policy. We stopped greeting dogs on leash across the board. I don't care if your dog is friendly. No, we don't meet, because he was very sensitive about his personal space, and we kept encountering these dogs that were very rude to him and that would invade his space. And every time that he had a space invasion, that I allowed a space invasion, he learned to not trust me. Once I accepted that he felt like I wasn't keeping him safe, and I instituted that zero greeting policy, and that zero greeting policy was his entire life, I did relax that a bit. In that he could greet during a class setting when he was working with me to teach other dogs. But anytime we were in public and a dog was approaching, we did not greet, like zero. And that went a long way for him learning to trust that I would keep him safe. And so when I approach a situation with a dog who is fearful or anxious, again, when we talked about management and how there's this golden thread that links all these behaviors, lack of trust is the same. So the dog is building muscle memory. We can inadvertently be communicating that we are not trustworthy to our dogs, not in this context, but in another context. So understand that it's not just in one situation, it's across the board. Meaning, I'm going to keep you safe when we're out walking on leash. And then I'm going to, just pulling this out of thin air, but I'm going to call you to me and brush you, and I know you hate brushing. I've just said, when you come, like, I'm a big fat liar. I've said, you can trust me and not. This kind of happens a lot when it comes to training and the delivery of treats, because we will oftentimes show them a treat and then ask them to do something, and then we don't give them that treat, and then we ask them to do something else. We're basically trying to bribe them, lure them, but we're doing it ineffectively, and what we're inadvertently teaching them is that I'm a big fat liar. I know I showed you this, and I know I told you I would give you this, but I'm not really going to do it, right? So understand that we have to be men, women of our word. Like, if we say we're going to do something, we have to follow through for our dogs. So when there is an anxiety, we have to look at what's driving that fear or anxiety. Is it a lack of exposure? Can I give my dog some exposure to that? Is there a physical component? I cannot tell you how many times I come into a situation with a behavior problem and there's an underlying anxiety and I bring up over-the-counter support, and I'm not saying go to the vet and get a pharmaceutical, I'm just saying like there are things that you can buy that can help your dog feel better. The pushback I get, no, I can't do that. Like they just need to learn. And it hurts my heart because I'm like, if they had diabetes, you would treat that. And yet because it's because it's an anxiety, you don't want to treat that. Let's be real. Our life is stressful and we're humans. Our life can be very stressful for our dogs for a variety of reasons, which I'm not going to get into today. Like that's a whole other topic. I have a webinar planned for, fearful anxiety behaviors. And so that's coming soon. Sorry about that. Somebody rang my doorbell. So I have a whole webinar coming on, fear and anxiety. But when I encourage people to start supporting the dog physically for that anxiety, I get a lot of pushback, and it can make a world of difference, a huge, huge difference, because they feel better in their body. It creates a space for learning to occur, right? So not only does arousal reduce cognitive function, it also does what? They can't access the things you've already taught them, but they also can't learn new stuff. So when your dog is in a fearful state of mind, and we insist on training during that fearful state of mind, some of it's getting through, but not very much. And then this is where people will say to me, like, my dog knows better. I've taught the dog stuff. And in the human's mind, they've taught the dog stuff, not understanding that so little of what they're teaching is getting through to the dog in a way that the dog can access. It's almost like somebody's teaching you in a foreign language and you're like nodding along like, okay, yeah, because you're being polite, but you really don't understand what they're saying. Our dogs do that a lot. Like, yeah, cookie, okay, but they don't understand what you're saying because they're just being hijacked by their emotions. So that is where addressing the need when there's an anxiety can help you address instead of just suppress that naughty behavior, and how you will get so much further if you actually start to address the feeling and the need to feel safe, the need to feel comfortable in my body, the need to trust you that you will keep me safe because I can count on you to always be truthful to me. And because you're truthful to me in all these other contexts, I can then trust you to be truthful to me in this context. One way that I see people betray their dog's trust over and over again, most of the time I see this with off-leash or on-leash dog greetings, is they go for a greeting, if this dog is approaching, oh, my dog is friendly. And we say, can we dog say hi? Okay. And then we approach them and this dog greeting goes bad, it goes on too long. Again, whole other topic on dog greetings and how to do it appropriately, which is covered in my coursework. But when that greeting goes badly, we've just told our dog, I, as the human, cannot read the situation correctly, cannot predict when it's going to be good or bad. I can't read the signals of the other dog, and I have failed you. Therefore, do not trust me to make a good decision about greetings. That's like, because I get this one a lot. Like, my dog is overly reactive on leash, barks and lunges at other dogs, and most of the time I can bring it back to the dog does not feel safe about their personal space because they've had too many negative encounters on leash where my owner has failed to keep me safe. Therefore, it's fear producing, anxiety producing. I'm defensively protecting my space because my human is not paying attention, and it happens very quickly. So that's just one example of how we fail our dogs to keep them safe from their perspective. Right? We're like, well, they're fine, right? It went bad, they squabbled, or their leashes got tangled, but they're fine. But they're not. To the dog, they are not fine. They don't feel good about that. So don't minimize their feelings about safety and anxiety because you do not walk in their feet. So many times people will say, it's an irrational fear. Now, sometimes it is. I worked with a rescued greyhound who was afraid of the big trash cans. They lived in a residential community that had like an HOA, and all the trash got picked up on the same day. And so every house on the block had the big dumpy trash cans. And, that day was a terrible day. To the humans, we're like, it's just a trash can. For him, it was fearful producing because it was a lack of exposure. He didn't understand what they were, paired with all the rumbly trash truck sounds all the time. So it created a negative association. We know it's irrational. I taught him that it was irrational, and it didn't take long for him to be able to go past the trash cans. But the first step is acknowledging and validating that their feelings, their need for safety is real to the dog. So it's not just about suppression. Get over it. We're walking past the trash can, but addressing the root cause. I see that you are afraid of this. I will help you get over this. So when it comes to address or suppress, you have to trust that what the dog is telling you is true for the dog. So next week, we're going to wrap it all up, and we'll wrap up the series on address or suppress. So see you next week. And until then, may you always have a dog to love.